After helping to fund developers for the last 10 years and helping hundreds get finance, today we're actually going to be going through what an offer in principle or indicative terms actually look like and run through all the steps so that you can see clearly, and when you get one of your own you can understand exactly what it all means. We've got a mock case here. It's not an existing one. On any offer there are a few key things to look for. The first is obviously to make sure they have the company name. In this example, I said it was going to be a new limited company that hasn't been set up yet. Then you've got the security address. This is what actual security, piece of land, property are you going to give to the lender in order to secure that loan. Then we've got what charge it is. This means, is the lender getting first charge on the property? The charge is simply what goes on land registry to show that that lender has actually lent you money, and the ranking of the charges are based on which loan goes on first, so it's done chronologically. Then you've got the property value and then the GDV. So the GDV, if you remember, is a gross development value. So the property value is what it's worth as is today. The GDV is what it will be worth once the property is actually completed. So in this loan we've requested 900,000 as a total loan. This obviously will not all be drawn at once because that would be nearly 3 times the value of the property. This will be done in drawdowns. The net loan is what the actual borrower will receive in their hands in order to use to develop that plot of land. The gross loan is what they will need to pay back at the very end of the loan term. So once you've done the 12 months of the loan, which is the term of the loan, you'll need to pay back the 1,043,975 and a couple of pence. Within that is included the 12 months worth of interest, the 2% arrangement fee, the 1% broker fee, which are here and here, and they've got a clear indication of what each of those would look like. And here we've got the interest rate, which is 1.25% per month, and this interest will be retained, i.e. deducted from each drawdown based on the remaining term. Then they've got a deferred arrangement fee, more commonly known as the exit fee. This is a 2%, very quickly looking at those, which is a relatively hefty exit fee, but it does allow the company to offer a cheaper rate because they stack their profit on the back end. Then a lot of the lenders will show a commission that is payable. So in this example, the commission payable by the lender is 10,439. So this will come out of the 2% arrangement fee typically. In this instance, the broker would get a total of nearly 20,000 or over 20,000. Then you've got the initial valuation fee, which is estimated to be 1,800, and then they've also included the legal fees for a deal of this size, which are 6,950. After the key figures, they'll typically have some important points that you can look at. For example, in this one, they have no minimum term. What that means is that if you borrow the money on day one, you could repay that money in 1 month and you would only pay for 1 month's worth of interest. There are lenders, a lot of lenders actually, that charge a minimum typically of 3 months interest. The likelihood that you'll be able to borrow that money and repay it within the 3 months is very slim. That's why lenders like this can charge a no minimum term, because the likelihood of that happen is next to none. This lender has no project management or monitoring fees. That's not exactly true in this case, because they don't have a quantity surveyor, they don't have monitoring reports, but they will sometimes require a valuation to go out, which is essentially the same thing, just under another name. Then they lend throughout England, Scotland, Wales, just a bit of advertising for themselves of what they do. And then the fee is based on the facility amount, not the gross development value. So that's just to tell you that this figure is based on the 1,043,975 as opposed to the 1.5 million GDV. This lender, one thing they do, which I find is incredibly helpful, and we can sort of have a quick overview of it now, is actually go through how they calculate their interest, what it's broken down into. This lender has a really sort of handy table, which you can see in front of you, that actually shows you where the money is drawn, how it's calculated, so it's easy and clear to understand and very transparent. transparent, so you know what you're getting into from the start. Most lenders won't supply this until much later down the line, and you'll have to ask for it, and they will do it based off your specific build schedule. With this lender, they've assumed some drawdown stages, which is probably not quite accurate, but it gives you a good idea of really where you're going to be in terms of the drawdowns. For this example, with the purchase price, if you remember, was 340,000. That's the current value. The borrower would receive a net loan of 150,000 day one. So this is a gross loan of 221,000 and a bit. Then here's where all the large fees come out. So this will be the total fee and the broker fee for the entire loan deducted, which is why on the day one drawdown, it's so much less, because all of the fees based on the total gross sum are being deducted day one. Then you've got the legal fees for all the normal compliance, and then you've got basically the interest based on that drawdown per month, and then the running total, which is obviously 1 month. And then if you jump on to month 2, you can see the next drawdown they've assumed is 87,000 and a bit, which brings the total running gross loan to nearly 309,000. Then they've got some arrangement fees, and this is pretty much actually an admin fee for them organizing the money. It's got the legal fees, which will just be to cover the actual sending of the money to you. There's no further legal due diligence. Some lenders will actually do some legal due diligence on every drawdown. They will get their solicitor to double check that you have all of the sign-offs from building control done correctly. If you've got a build warrant, make sure they've signed it all off before they actually release any further funds. As you'll see then, the remaining term is 11 months. So the monthly drawdown on this portion, or the monthly installment, is 1,093, which once you add those together is 3,862. And then the total interest is 12,000 based on this times the remaining term. And that's how it goes. So they draw each one. It's very easy to understand, very easy to see how they've calculated it all. And it's all based off the 1.25%. They have some caveats of how the money is released, but it's only indicative. And what they've done here, which most lenders sort of will do to some extent, is they've done a relatively linear drawdown curve, which if you've done any developments at all or know of any, that isn't accurate at all. Typically, the drawdowns are done larger ones at the start where you're doing a lot of construction work. It will kind of go in a bit of a sort of downwards slope slightly, and then up again as you get towards the roof, etc. So there's a big cost, and then it will drop down as you start doing the internals where the costs are smaller, like the kitchen's fraction of the roof cost. But this gives you a good idea of where it's going to be, but won't be exact. So that's something to bear in mind when you're obviously looking at any of these illustrations. So it's calculated when you draw the money as opposed to this illustration. That's basically what they look like. It's always worth bearing in mind every single one will be different. So if you do have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. Please do share it. Otherwise, you might be interested to check out this video.